especially as for the third time this summer, the story has emerged that Juve really want Gabriel. And that story doesn't seem to want to go away. And I messaged Miguel Delaney about his article, and I'm like, could this happen? He essentially said the player isn't like pushing to leave, but like Juve really want him. And are prepared, I've read, to spend up to £50 million on him. Question for you, Colleen. If Juve put £50 million on the table, if you could get a very good replacement, should you accept that amount of money for Gabriel?
But then there's an if there. Do you know what I mean? If we get a really good replacement, obviously we have Saliba coming back, who's highly rated amongst everyone who's watching the French league and amongst Arsenal fans. We've never actually seen him in the Prem, so I don't know how that would actually translate in the Premier League. So, but for me, I have rose-tinted glasses on. I don't want Gabriel to go, and I wouldn't if the player's not pushing for it. And it seems like we no longer need to do that kind of thing when you start selling first team players anymore. If we don't need the 50, unless we really need 50 mil, which it doesn't seem like we do. I don't see the point. We're still rebuilding. We're trying to grow this squad. We're trying to keep the same core group of players and build upon that. I personally don't want Gabriel to go. So for me, it's a no. It's like who are we bringing in for that realistically? In terms of our competitors and rivals around us, and with the players that we already got, you would think that if he was to go, Saliba automatically would come in, is what I would imagine. Then we're left with Holding. So then it depends on whether Arteta's going to want someone to come straight into the team or to compete with Saliba or Wyatt. So for me, it doesn't make a lot of sense as to why. It's just it would be a money thing, or if the player wants to go.
George, I want to ask. I hear what you're saying. I want to ask you this question: if Juve make an official approach. Allegri is their manager, right? I am right in thinking that. Yeah. Allegri is the manager. Di Maria just signed. Paul Pogba just rejoined. Do you think Gabriel's head could be turned by the size of Juventus, the players they've got, the position that they're in, or will he stick with, in your opinion, Arsenal and what they're trying to build and create there?
I can't lie. I actually think he will stay with Arsenal this time. Correct me if I'm wrong, Colleen. He was the first centre back that Arteta brought in, right? Gabriel. So he's sort of the start of the project of Arsenal. He was one of the first summer windows for them, and I feel like he's sort of started to settle in. Last season was probably his better season. He started to get a bit better. I personally don't rate him too highly as a centre back. For 50 million, I think that you should bite your hands off for him. But I think that he will stay at Arsenal because he's starting to get a bit more comfortable.
Who do you rate?
I rate Saliba very highly. I think Saliba comes into that Arsenal back line, makes it better, and you won't see no difference with Gabriel not being there. You don't. The 50 million, yeah, you said you don't need it, and I get what you mean. If you want the depth and Arsenal need to be a better team, it's probably best to keep him around and have 3 good centre-backs rotating. But then also, on the other hand, you can bring the 50 million in and then go spend that again on another centre-back that could potentially be better. But if there's options out there is the real question. But I do think he stays.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one for me. The fact that it's like the third time now this has come up. Juve clearly, but how are Juve doing in Italy? Because they're not the power they were like 4 or 5 years ago. They came fourth.
Yeah, but it was still a close-ish race.
Chiesa was out for
it was close enough. Season, I mean, and they're gonna challenge next season for the title definitely. Obviously, Inter are still there, and then obviously AC Milan are still there. So they're not the powerhouse, but they're still. Able to attract some of the best players.
Juventus is still Juventus at the end.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I get that. And listen, I just kind of, I think he's dedicated to Arsenal. And as Miguel Delaney said today, that he's not pushing for this move or anything. But the world can change when a club makes an official approach. It's almost, you want to make me a main centre back. You're challenging for titles. You're in the Champions League. You've got the squad that you've got. It's just an intriguing one for me because Arsenal have again today been linked to a young centre back at RB Leipzig. His name now completely eludes me. Well, so I'm intrigued to see what's going on with that deal.
Bro.
They won about 80-90 million for Guardiola. I don't think he's going nowhere this summer.
Really? No, he's gone to Terry, man. I have to disagree, man. I'm sorry, but Arsenal have been a selling club since 09-10, yeah. But the best thing is, then they're not in a position to be like, okay, and I disagree. I think Gabriel is a good defender. Actually, I think he's Arsenal's best defender as it goes. I think Ben White gets too much credit and doesn't get enough criticism because he's the one that's not worth 50 million. Gabriel, if they come in with a massive offer, Arsenal's still got a month and a half. It looks like they can get transfers done quite quick. I'm sure they've got a little list saying, okay, if we need a centre back, let's go for that guy. If they come, they don't need to sell him for 50 million. They could be like, well, we don't need to sell 80 million. He's yours. Take it or leave it. Simple as that. But I reckon his head is probably at Arsenal. But it's like you said, Terry, once money gets involved and once everything else comes involved, Juventus, the whole Champions League thing, the players, as you said as well, I'm going to be like, yeah, you know what? I wouldn't mind bouncing. Like, I've got Arteta as my manager, bro. Like,
you're talking, I did like the latter part of your sentence there, but they see that dead banter we're talking about. You've got some cheek with that Norwich scarf in the background. We're going to bring
I'm so, she's got bite. She's got bite, yeah? Nah, man. Arteta's got it, bro. He's getting sacked, bro. The season he's done. But we'll talk then.
Story for another stream.
Arsenal's, what are we saying about Arsenal's window, people? Because again, they're linked to Paqueta. Obviously, there's this situation with Zinchenko. The Yuri Tillemans deal is the weirdest one of the summer for me. I just still can't fathom why they haven't sanctioned it with how good he is and the availability that he has. Do we feel like sorry?
No, I'm intrigued. Like, it's the same thing. It's with everyone. Obviously, I don't think the word isn't worry, but you always want to see how things work out. Like, you know how last season everyone was making signings. We made Lukaku, a couple of other teams were making a couple of signings, and we were like, yeah, this is going to be the best title race we've seen since da-di-da-di-da, and then it never really works out that way. So I'm intrigued to see how Tottenham work out with Conte having a full season, obviously in the Champions League as well. So he's going to have to balance that. It's not just going to be a no European competition thing. They're going to be battling on all fronts. So how he utilizes the squad. With Arsenal as well, I'm intrigued. I think one thing that I rate, even though I'm not particularly worried about Arsenal in terms of what they can do as a whole, one thing I've rated is their recruitment. They've been consistent with it. They're hell-bent on buying young talent, players with energy, players who are exuberant, who are willing to play and fight for the manager. And look, there were points in the season where I thought Arsenal played really good bits of football as well. Obviously, the banner is that he's literally copying Pep and he's calling him up and borrowing his blueprint. But I mean, at the end of the day, if that's what works for you, that's what works for you, innit? But I'm intrigued, man. I want to see how it works. And obviously now they've got a striker, and obviously everyone's bantering Gabriel Jesus. Obviously, Tom, you don't really rate him like that, saying he's a backup for City. But I think, look, being a backup for City is no like there's no disrespect and no harm in that. He scored goals for City. He was able to get double-digit goals playing off the bench.
Not an issue being a backup for Manchester City. It's the fact he was a backup when they didn't have a striker. The man was benched.
No, but then he got moved to right wing and he started scoring goals from there. Do you know what I mean? So you just never know with these things. But yeah, like I'm intrigued, man. The same with Man United. I'm intrigued to see how all these players, because I feel like every team, I mean, bar Liverpool is buying a high number of players, but Liverpool's one, Tom, though. You don't need players, innit?
Don't even get me started.